Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's a great honour to be here with you today. Can I say thank you very much to our hosts and particularly acknowledge Captain Sirisun for your efforts and for your collaboration, particularly with the Australian Government and with our people from AUSTRAC. To the Deputy Prime Minister, Wasanu Kriyanam, thank you very much for your hospitality. To Minister Waranta, we catch up 2 days in a row. It's very nice to see you here in Bangkok. It's wonderful to be here with Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the wonderful city of Bangkok. This is, of course, the 4th Regional Counter-Terrorism Financing Summit, co-hosted by Thailand's AMLO, Indonesia's PPATK and Australia's AUSTRAC. I would like to express particular thanks to the heads of the 3 hosting agencies for their extraordinary efforts and the efforts of their teams to prepare today's meeting. I'm confident that the Bangkok meeting will, like past events in Sydney, Bali and Kuala Lumpur, cement this summit's reputation as one of the premier counter-terrorism financing gatherings in the world. In the past 4 years, since the first CTF Summit, we have achieved a great deal together in combating the scourge of terrorism and those who seek to aid them. And yet, despite our joint successes, significant terrorist and criminal threats continue and remain to this very day. The Islamic State is all but defeated in Syria and Iraq, but lives on through dispersal of its hateful ideology and foreign fighters determined to fight on. No region is immune, as ISIL-affiliated organisations have demonstrated, with terrorist attacks in our region within the past 2 years. On behalf of the Australian Government and the Australian people, I want to reiterate our sympathies for the family and friends of the innocent people lost in Marawi, Surabaya, Sumatra and attacks elsewhere. The terrorism financing environment in Southeast Asia has been re-energised through a number of terrorist organisations shifting their allegiance to ISIL. Returning foreign fighters to the region are providing capability and are strengthening supporter bases, which will increase the terrorism financing threat for the foreseeable future. Australia's national terrorism threat level was raised to probable in 2014, and there have been 6 terrorist attacks with 4 innocent lives lost in our country. A further 14 major counter-terrorism operations have thwarted planned attacks in Australia. We've charged 90 individuals through 40 counter-terrorism operations, and since 2001, a total of 55 people have been convicted of terrorist-related offences in Australia. And since 2006, we've convicted 11 people, specifically for terrorism financing, and a further 6 are currently before our courts on terrorism financing charges. The Australian Government remains vigilant and committed to regional cooperation because the terrorists remain committed to their hateful fight. Moreover, as we succeed, the terrorists and organised criminals are adapting their ways, including in the use of technologies such as encryption. That is why our government, acting on the advice of our security and law enforcement agencies, is reforming our national law on encryption. Encryption protects us as we engage in personal and professional activities online, but it is being used by terrorists and criminals to conceal their activities, especially when planning and executing terrorist attacks. Australian agencies advise that 90% of their most dangerous counter-terrorism targets use encrypted communications. As terrorists and organised criminals, as they adapt their tactics to avoid detection, we each need to find in our own jurisdictions ways to counter these evolving threats. And together we must also continue to work very closely, even more closely than we have in the past, in a collaborative effort that must be a priority for all of us in our work to address terrorism and other crimes. This priority was reinforced in March with the signing of an MOU, an ASEAN-Australia cooperation to counter international terrorism. This historic agreement strengthens our joint commitment to confront terrorism and terrorism financing. Following on from the ASEAN MOU, there have been several successful joint operational initiatives amongst regional FIUs this year alone, including analyst exchanges and hubbing exercises. the recent multilateral analyst exchange program between the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia and Australia is a perfect example. Through this initiative, our 4 national financial intelligence units engaged in unprecedented information sharing and analysis of respective data holdings on a significant common terrorist threat. Drawing upon intelligence from law enforcement and national security partners in all 4 countries, the analysts built a comprehensive picture of the financial dealings of the terrorist network. This enabled alternative disruption strategies to be deployed by regional law enforcement and national security agencies. This work has led to a better understanding of key facilitators, financing ISIL-aligned terrorist organisations in the region. It has also provided leads that are currently being pursued by relevant law enforcement agencies. Also of note is the work done jointly by Australia and the United States in relation to counter-terrorism sanctions listings in the region. In the past 6 months, these targets are responsible for the transfer of nearly US $200,000 and the production of radicalisation propaganda videos to ISIL and their affiliates in the region have been added to the United Nations Security Council's sanctions list. Australia is especially committed to strengthening our partnerships and collaboration with financial intelligence units in the region. Earlier this year, we posted 2 AUSTRAC officers, one in Malaysia and one in the Philippines, to work closely with their FIU counterparts in those countries and throughout the regions. These positions are modelled on our highly successful arrangement with officers posted in Indonesia, working with PPATK colleagues for more than a decade. I am pleased to announce today that AUSTRAC is expanding its regional footprint with the appointment of our first officer in China. This strategic position will be based in Guangdong from December this year for an initial period of 2 years. We will also continue the series of financial intelligence analyst courses in the region, which were announced at the ASEAN Australia Summit. The first course was held in Brunei in August, with a further 3 to be funded by the Australian government over the next 2 years. These courses upskill intelligence analysts, providing current intelligence tradecraft and analysis techniques that can be applied against targets of concern. 20 participants from 10 financial intelligence units of ASEAN member nations have now passed this course. I look forward to many more graduates following the course in the Philippines next March and the 2 courses thereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, at last year's CTF Summit in KL, the first ever financial intelligence codeathon was held, bringing together government and industry to work on fresh solutions to the challenges we face in fighting terrorism. And this was an important step towards harnessing the potential of collaboration between technology and innovation specialists, industry and government in the fight against serious crime. Australia continues to evolve its own public-private partnership initiative, the FinTel Alliance, which is now tackling important priority issues including child exploitation and serious financial crime across the Asia-Pacific region. I hope your discussions here will further this important element of our work, because without the contribution of the private sector, our efforts against terrorism and organised crime will not reach their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you great success for this CTF Summit. I'm confident, like you, that your discussions will deliver very positive operational outcomes for all of our nations. I'm sure that you will all leave here from these deliberations equipped with new knowledge, ideas and a strengthening of friendships that will help us succeed in the fight against terrorism as it must and other serious crimes. Thank you very much.